Welcome to Monday Morning Express. We're in our Season 3 mug. You can enjoy your coffee or iced coffee if that's your preference of the day. And how time flies when one is having fun. We have come to our season finale.
Yeah, I know. It's sad to see it come to an end, but oh well, it has. And you know, as we mentioned last week, Dan, even though it's coming to an end, we've got a great show planned for our audience today. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Jimmy and I are going to go out and talk to Charlie about that 476 and see what was involved with the rebuild of that.
Yeah, pretty cool. And of course, I got a complete compilation of this project updates that we've been handling. We're going to see where we're at with all of them from the various importers. So we'll bring them up to speed all at once on these. So we're looking forward to that. And then you've been teasing us about your history of brass model trains. And so we're going to see what you got in store for us there.
It'll be kind of fun. I think the viewers will like it.
Yeah, you will.
And I'm looking forward to your part, too, because it's been a great season as far as project announcement goes and, like, rock-solid announcements. So it'd be nice to get a little recap, make sure nothing slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, right. It's nice to have it all at once. I think our audience will appreciate that. And then our how-to with Hal. What
happened?
Well, Hal, unfortunately,
fell and broke.
Yeah, he fell off a ladder, broke his hand. Poor guy.
I'll get feeling better.
Yeah, right. So, but
he's tough.
He's a tough guy. He's tougher than I am. I know that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he's going to be down for just a little bit. But we're here at the end of the season. But we didn't want to miss out. So I'll tell you what. We went ahead and we've been asking about taking your questions. And so instead of How To with Hal, we're going to do Mail Time with Hal.
Okay.
So it was previously recorded. So we look forward to that segment on the show today.
And then, of course, we're hoping to see that segment continue on.
Yeah.
He's already recovering and ready to get back to work as soon as he's feeling better. So definitely looking forward to that. Also, at the end of the show today, we will have a special announcement. Which the brass industry should find interesting. And of course, we'll recap a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little more about what's coming up next season. So a lot of great things planned.
Let's get to it.
Thanks for joining us today on Monday Morning Express. Here is proof this is not a HON 3 scale model or even SN 3, right, Jimmy?
Not even. This is the real deal here.
Forget how big these chunks of coals are in real life. Anyways, tell us a little bit about where we are standing right now, Jimmy.
Well, we're standing in front of the latest creation. They just rebuilt the 476. In fact, they just did the break-in run last week with it, and it ran with flying colors. Just a few little bolts to tighten and that type of thing. But Charlie, could you kind of tell us what you did with the locomotive the past couple of years?
Well, we actually did probably one of the larger and more time-consuming rebuilds that's been done here at the Durango and Silverton. One of the big things was this locomotive has a brand new smoke box on it. We actually took the old one off and put in a new front tube sheet as well while we're at it, and a rear tube sheet and throat sheet. But we had to rivet everything back onto that first course, in addition to ream the smoke box back to the frame, the saddle, because that's a tapered bolt. You don't want it working up there. You just can't take a regular bolt and throw it in there. It's got to be a tapered fit, so it's like a solid piece that won't work on you. So that was something that really hadn't been done here. They've replaced on K36s the top portions of them, but they never did down below, and that's where you get the most wastage and wear. So that was a really big deal to have that done here. And we did it in-house. We had a fixture made up that we attached, and to get the angles right and ream it and drill it and then make the tapered bolts themselves. The other big thing was the rear tube sheet and throat sheet. That was really wasted away, and that receives a lot of wear just from the coal burning in there, and as it travels through the tubes, it wears. It's a wear surface, so we replaced that as well. And driver job, we did a full running gear work on it. It's got brand new 44-inch tires on it. Likewise with the pony truck and trailing truck, we also did significant work to that too. And the thing was originally parked in 1999 because of frame issues. It was working, the keys were working out of it. Well, we also addressed that too by bringing in a company called Lock and Stitch to do the cast iron repairs, because that's a very difficult process. Back in the day, they'd build large furnaces, ovens under these things to get it hot enough. so the braze and everything would take. But today's technology, they can stitch it together with like threaded plugs all the way through to take all the cracks up. So we also had that repaired too, which was a big deal, and that's why it was sidelined and put in the museum in 1999.
So you're trying to weld up like a 4 or 5 inch thick piece of material on a frame. You need a lot of heat.
Absolutely. But back in the day, they didn't have that lock and stitch type of repair. They had to literally build a furnace under that to get that massive amount of material hot enough, because if it's not hot enough, it won't take and adhere.
So we can see the benefit of modern technology working on these 100-year-old locomotives so that we can keep them running for the future.
Absolutely. It goes back to my statement where, you don't want to reinvent the wheel too much, but there are some things that just because of today's modern advances, we can do that and it's cost effective.
Yeah, and as we've mentioned several times today, I mean, a lot of our viewers and myself, we think of these, well, that's cool, you get it running again, but they're workhorses. You got to get this thing out. And
we run our locomotives here just as they were built back in the day. We use them as a tool. This is how people get to Silverton. If they don't run right, they're not going to get to Silverton and they won't have a quality experience. And we want to provide them with an experience that they'll remember and hopefully share to their friends and coworkers and have them come and ride.
And as we were talking about earlier, you're using these locomotives more than the Rio Grande did on the Silverton branch. You're hauling more passengers, more trains, more locomotives needed. In fact, you upgraded the railroad so that you could run the bigger power, the K36s, because even those K28's a good sized locomotive, it can't handle the tonnage that is needed to run the Silverton branch for you.
That's correct. Generally, most of the time, 10 cars is the max tonnage that a K28 can haul to Silverton. K36 can generally haul up to 13, which if you consider that, each car is between, 40 to 45 people it could hold. That's a few more butts in the seat, as they like to say.
Yeah, so if you're running 4 trains a day, that's an extra train.
Absolutely.
Just by having a bigger locomotive.
Right, but they have their benefits too. The Rio Grande did studies on these back in the 30s. They are cheaper to maintain than a K36. There's less weight. There's also less weight on the track too, and wear on the track. So that's why, you look at the Rio Grande, when they ran these up until when Bradshaw purchased the railroad, that's all they had was the 476, the 478, and the 473.
And something else that we should talk about is this roundhouse was involved in a fire.
It was, yeah, in 1989. And in fact, I believe it's basically was this weekend or so, but back in 1989.
Yeah.
It's kind of the anniversary.
Yeah. I was living in Chama at the time, and I got the phone call in the morning, and I drove up here, and as soon as I turned the corner, there was tears in my eyes when you could just see the walls collapsing in the roundhouse, and then the 73, 76, and 78 were in the roundhouse, and then just, you could see they're exposed to the fire, and it almost seemed like they would never run again.
And that's a testament to the crews then to get it back online. And this was the first locomotive to depart Durango for Silverton that following season, that 1989 season. And a lot of people weren't sure if they were going to run, and this was the first locomotive out the door for Silverton.
Yeah, I'm glad to see her running again, and you guys did a beautiful job on it.
On this week's project updates, we wanted to bring you up to speed on, well, all of the importers' projects before we leave for the season. We'll start off with Division Point. In our HON3 projects, they of course have the Denver Rio Grande Western K36 and K37s. Also in HON3, the Conoco tank cars. Now if we switch to HO scale, we have the center cabs, which are getting close to delivery, as well as the mini rerun of the Alco RS projects. Now also there's the Denver and Rio Grande Western P44 and K59, the Rio Grande Zephyr F9s, as well as the Sioux Line 020484 Northerns. In addition with the pickup of PSC projects, we also have the Seaboard P1s, the Frisco 1500s, and the possibility of the RF&P Berkshires. As soon as they give us their item numbers at Division Point, we'll have these models available for reservation on our site at brasstrains.com. Up next for the coach yard is delivery of the Texas Zephyrs. They come in a 9-car set as well as individual cars that are sold separately. Also in the 2018-2019 schedule process, they tell us that they're going to be expecting in the Rio Grande 1971 Zephyr 8-car set, the Santa Fe Employee Recognition Special also, as well as the Union Pacific 1955 Portland Rose. And of course, Fred tells us that a few projects still looking for more reservations are the UP M10002 City of Los Angeles and the M10004 City of San Francisco. Also, the New York Central's The Pacemaker, which will be available in 2 versions. And then we have the PRR 1938, the General and the Spirit of St. Louis, as well as PRR's 1938 Trailblazer and the 1941 Jefferson. Now, all of those are being done in the fleet of Modernism. So some really great projects to look forward to with the coach yard. At Union Terminal Imports, of course, as we announced last week on the show, they have the Wabash City of Kansas City project, as well as the Norfolk Southern Heritage Series. Both are new projects, and the reservations are coming along nicely for those. In addition, we will be on the lookout for these projects from UTI. The Cross Maffei, and delivery we expect in fall of this year. The Illinois Central, City of Miami and City of New Orleans, and the Pullman 10-6 Sleeper. Pilot models are expected this summer, and delivery of production models before the end of the year. Of course, they also have the Southern Pacific GP9 passenger units. The expected delivery on those is early to mid-2019. And then the Southern Pacific DH643s. Chuck tells us they expect delivery mid-2019 of those. And of course, the project, as we mentioned, being in danger of being dropped is the DODX cabooses. We only have a handful of reservations, so Chuck said give it just a little while longer, but if not enough reservation, that project is going to be canceled. The North Bank Line. Up next for the North Bank Line will be delivery of their Northern Pacific steel cupola cabooses. Reservations are coming along nicely for these. That tells us that they also will be building the Southern Pacific 462 P12s, but now with 4 versions instead of the original 5. So check out our website for that change. Next up is Glacier Park Models. As shown last week, the PRR T1 project is gaining a lot of steam. We have received some photos from Glacier Park of the pilot models. Now, as you can see with these, they're going to look great. Some really cool features are going to be incorporated into these models that have never been done before, such as the missing cam box covers on the cylinders of the number 5517. In addition, the neat-looking train phone antenna and receiver coils, as well as the working sliding shrouds to access the water hatches. Some of the best-looking tenders we've seen. The 6 versions are now available on our site, and we expect a sellout on these beauties. So get your reservations in early if you want one of these PRR T1s. Now switching gears to Key Model Imports. David DeVita tells us over there that he expects delivery for the California Zephyr cars at the end of this year, or possibly even the first quarter of next year. And then mentioning the Big Boy project, he says that's coming along nicely, and it will be delivered after the California Zephyr cars. They're hoping for the end of 2019 for delivery in that. And finally, Lee Marsh Model Company. They are offering the O-Scale Canadian Pacific Royal Hudson. Many versions are available in both oil and coal, along with a variety of stacks. Check out our website for the different models available there. So there's a lot going on over our season break, so make sure to check out our new brass section at brasstrains.com for the latest updates.
Well, Chuck, thanks for setting up this opportunity to come down here to the Niles Canyon Railway. And I was thinking, looking at number 2474, this articulated chair car, it's got to be kind of a trip down memory lane for you, right?
It is. And you've seen this car before, along with its mate, but you've seen it in 1/87th scale.
I was going to say, I thought it was a little smaller last time I looked at it.
It was a little smaller. So everybody that watches MME has heard the story about how Fred Hill helped Ed Krasinski and I start the business. And we started it because we wanted these 1960s Southern Pacific cars. And the only way we were going to get them was to get involved and get them made ourselves. So we started the business part of the business, and then it was, okay, what do we do now? Because we didn't know anything about the process of how do you build a brass model. And so it was a great help to be able to come here to Niles Canyon Railway and Pacific Locomotive Association and actually photograph the articulated chair car and all of the underbody details, the truck details, the roof details, the lettering, and so forth. And that's a big part of the process that contributes to making an accurate model.
Yeah, you said that really kind of increased your confidence when you were able to come down here and you knew your models were going to be something you could stand behind and that you could be proud of because they were just right.
They were just exactly right. And it helps when you see the drawings and to pull up the pictures that were taken here. And again, after the pilot model is built, then you can actually come here with the pilot model and hold it up and compare it to the real thing. And likewise, the production models. So it did give us a big boost of confidence.
So is your first project still very desirable today, getting hard to find?
Yeah, I noticed. I see them fly through your website.
Fly is the right word. They go fast.
Yeah, which we get tickled about every time. Of course, Ed and I check brasstrains.com multiple times every day.
We appreciate that.
For our own, shopping. And then when we see one of the Union Terminal Imports models get posted and fly out, we always call each other. We say, "Hey, did you see that? Wow!" And I'm getting chicken skin now talking about it. I'm, proud papa.
Yeah, it's got to make you feel good now that you were saying this is your 10th year.
10th year.
Very nice.
It's just past 10 years, and we're working on I believe our 10th project.
Yeah, well, congratulations. You guys have done a great job, as we've talked about, of building up a reputation of just top tier quality. And now it seems like every project we announce gets reserved pretty quickly. Well, this being the third season of Monday Morning Express, I thought it was time to tackle some of life's bigger questions. No, not what came first, the chicken or the egg. That's too easy. Not even what is the greatest brass model of all time. That's a little too subjective. It seems like every few months on some forum or Facebook page, that age-old discussion that brass is dying, or what's better, plastic or brass, always seems to flare out. Well, after jumping in those type of discussions one too many times and coming out tattered and frayed, I decided to do some research to find the very origin of such discussions, perhaps to put those questions to rest once and for all time. Well, one can hope. To start, I can confirm this war of words has been going on longer than social media has existed. Many of the great minds of the hobby have tackled it. Zane, Glab, Lemke, Brown, Winston, Mazzetti, and many more have all taken a stab at it, be it in a publication, a magazine, a newsletter, or proclamation from the rooftops. Some became so impassioned they even, perhaps legally, changed their last name to Brass. One of my customers recently reminded me of my own thoughts way back in 2005 when I was still charming, full of vigor, and did not have all this gray hair. Apparently, I wrote this article, "Is the Brass Market Dying?" where I began my lifelong endeavor to defend brass as an art. I waxed poetic of success stories of brass sales, defended the sanity, rationality, and mental health of brass collectors in general. In fairness, it was much less cool to be a nerd or a collector in 2005. I even defended one of the importers' decisions to start making plastic models in addition to importing brass, and predicted I'd be playing golf in 7 years. Well, one can't be expected to get everything right. However, for every defender of all that is good and pure, it seems there's a naysayer who is convinced doom is near. Plastic is overtaking brass. Kids don't like trains anymore, and no one will be able to afford the next imported model. And, well, I always felt, perchance, this was a new phenomenon as I began my arduous task of researching each and every article ever written on brass models, and believe me, it was extensive. I began to realize this was nothing new at all. Before the Brass Train Guidebook, the Brass Model Train Price and Data Guide Volume 1 and 2, the Brown Books Volume 1 through 3, the Brass Buyer's Guide, Brass Import News, Basics of Brass Collecting, the Ladd Illustrated Brass Locomotive Checklist, and many, many more, there was the Brass Tax. Published in 1974, the article was entitled, How to Open a Can of Worms and Catch Controversy. Well, this article went on to talk about the subject of quality and insanely rising prices. The statement, be sure of one thing, the brass market for the next year or two is going to be in turmoil, utter confusion, great agitation. And also it talked about being incredibly concerned of the possibility of an import having only 200 in the run, and the importer giving a take it or leave it attitude to the buyer. Well, preceding this periodical was the Brass Browser. With its inaugural edition in January of 1974, it had a positive flair, though it did express concerns that there may end up being too many brass imports, which could overwhelm the completist collector. Interesting. I could go on and on listing articles like these, but this brings me to what I think may be the actual origin of the very rumors I mentioned at the outset. Way back to 1956, well, the brass model industry was still in its infancy. Before it really even got out of the gate, International Models put out a frantic letter tackling both plastic versus brass and how the brass market may not survive. Agads. So the first thing International does in this letter seems to be extolling the virtues of brass and attacking plastic, stating that they found in a trade publication that if you display plastic trains in your storefront window, they're likely to warp, twist out of shape, and that sun, heat, cold, or dampness will affect them, and sales will be lost, and customer confidence will erode. So they tried to quickly put to bed the brass versus plastic debate, or maybe they just fired it up. Also, they go on to state how in their early days of bicycle-powered machinery, they've progressed to the point where they have an appropriate workshop and proper equipment to produce fine brass models. However, we see a concern with competition sprouting up. They say everything was going along nicely until the man we started in this business with, who was quite poor at the beginning, became the beggar on horseback and gave us what is commonly known as the double cross or the finger. Well, they had to take care of that, and so they went to Japan and tried to sort out what was going on. Well, it seems they forged a relationship with a hobby shop, but then that turned against them. They said they won't mention the name of the store, but ask any GI who has been to Japan or any Japanese what the heavenly store means in the Japanese language. This store handles some American and Swiss watches, eyeglasses, projectors, and these articles, plus model railroad models, are not made by them. The only articles which they do have control over is one that is made in prison for them. So it was a thinly veiled attack on their competition or supposed competition. And they go on to complain about the fact that they feel many of the builders of these fine brass models would be put out of business by underhanded dealings from their competitors. And they even go on to express their concerns for the export of brass model trains. So it seems that the origin of many of these debates started in the very infancy of brass. I'm sure these debates will continue to rage on if history is any precursor, but it makes me at least feel at peace to know it's just a cog in the machine, a tooth in the gear, a part of collecting brass trains. So if you collect brass trains, enjoy collecting them. It seems, as Mark Twain once quipped, maybe we could call Mark Twain for this bit. Anyways, he said, "The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." And that seems to sum up well both the current state and the history of brass model trains.
Welcome to Mail Time. Now we're going to ask you a question, Hal, that was sent in by a viewer. our viewer Dean Johnson had this question when it comes to, using the little mini torch and occasions when we would use it. And I know you're going to explain it, but tell us what we're going to do here, why you're going to need the torch today.
Okay, engine we were working on, I got to put a longer shaft in the worm gear.
Okay.
And it's just about impossible to
Can't
get
press
it
it
out.
right?
And even if it was a knurled fitting, it should have pressed out. But I put a lot of pressure on this, and there's a chance this may have been soldered in. And if it's soldered in, you're going to have to heat it up.
And if you put too much pressure on that thing and it's been soldered in there, what's going to happen to it?
Well, it's going to go down through the worm. That's why I've got it sitting here on this little flywheel, because that shaft goes through. I don't want it hitting on the table.
Okay.
On my workbench at home, I got an aluminum workbench, and I got a hole right under the hole in the Sensi press, so it just drops down.
Very
And
good.
this is your oxygen tank with a regulator.
And what do we got that set at, the oxygen?
I got it at about 3 pounds.
Okay, about 3 pounds.
The propane comes, this little regulator is self-pressure. Mine, and when I got it home, it was a little different, but it's either on or off.
Okay.
And it's regulated for a certain pressure.
Okay.
I
You
have
can
no
get
idea
those
what
anywhere.
it
Those
is.
are camping propane little mini tanks.
And when you always use a little torch, make sure, I usually open them up and clear any oxygen. Oxygen does not burn.
Right.
It supports combustion.
Okay.
So you're always going to fuel, turn on the red knob first, which is the fuel.
Red is the propane, right?
It's the propane, green is oxygen.
Green is oxygen.
Okay,
Very
go
good.
ahead and light
so
that
you're going
up.
to turn on the red first, you said, right?
Never point this towards your face.
Good safety tip right there.
Okay,
All
there we
right.
go.
So there's our propane.
There's our propane. Now I'm going to give it a little, sometimes it may blow out. I'm going to give it a little bigger flame here because I'm not working on a brass engine. Okay.
So that's what you want, is a little bit of the blue, the shiny blue.
Yeah, now I'm going to heat this shaft up and see what happens. Roll and feel, hold that steady there.
Yep, we bent it.
We bent it. So we're going to have to do plan
B.
Plan B. So I've turned it off. Let that.
What's good is we didn't know this was going to happen.
Did not know this was
We don't
gonna
know.
happen.
You got to be able to try it.
So what we're going to have to do now, I'm going to cut this off where it bent, and go to Plan B and see if I can tap it out.
Right.
And I don't want to tap it too much because then I'm going to flare it on the end.
Right.
If that doesn't work, then we got to put it in the milling machine and drill
it
that shaft out.
Okay. Because in reality, we're wanting to put in
Yeah,
this
we're going to put a new
2.4
shaft in
there.
because the shaft that was in there, I probably could have left it, but I like to have the, here's the motor, it's going to go with that shaft, and I'm going to cut some of this off.
Okay.
And I wanted the shaft, both shafts about equal length.
Okay. Well, hopefully, though, at least that was a demonstration of our mini torch, and hopefully that answers the question for Dean and some of the others out there about the safety and how to use it, how to light it, the oxygen tank, as well
I'll
as the propane.
just demonstrate how kind of a
Sure,
flame.
let's do it again.
It comes with about 5 different size tips, and I use on mine at home, but I'll turn it on again if you want to see what this thing will do.
Yeah, look at that.
I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah.
But I can
Tilt it
take
up this way if we can.
take a single edge razor blade and cut it in 2.
Oh.
That's how hot this thing is. Always turn off your oxygen first, and then your fuel.
Last. So it's just the reverse process of starting it.
That's
That's
right.
all. Okay.
So that's the little torch, and it'd be very difficult me working on brass trains. I don't like resistant soldering.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't want all them wires have to hook up to the model.
Okay.
And
So this is another one of your go-to tools.
yep, this is one of
Okay.
my gotta-have tools.
All right. Well, Hal, thanks for explaining that to us. And Dean, we want to thank you for the question. If you have any more questions, of course, we've been getting them. We'll answer them hopefully on mail time here. Just email us at mme@brasstrains.com and just put in the subject line just questions for Hal. We'll get it and we'll try to answer it on a future episode.
time flies when you're having fun.
Right.
I had fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a great season.
It's quite a trip.
Right. I look back at our mug, and I certainly think of, and if we're going to do a recap here, some of the highlights of the season that really come to the fore for us. You know, started out in California with
sunny, warm.
Yeah, beautiful, just beautiful. Boy, that place is nice.
Perfect weather.
You guys got it made out there.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got to go see Charlie Getz, you know, and certainly a treat starting off our trip out there with Charlie.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, by the way, Charlie said several people have contacted him trying to buy something from his hobby shop. But people, it's just Charlie's personal collection. It's how he displays it. He was good enough to invite us into his home, and he understands. He said he would be probably contacting people too, looking for that rare lost gem. But that's just the way he displays his collection.
Yeah, it's such a nice guy, as we mentioned. It was great to be there. Seeing that Malcolm Furlow, you know, layout, that looked good there. That was the first time I seen it
to me.
And where it's going.
Yes,
you know, we highlighted that.
I'm sure next season Charlie will still stay in contact with him as he continues the Brass Museum and lets us know more about that, because that's very exciting.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then we went down to Niles Canyon Railway. So there's where we got to see, we got to see the Cross Maffei up close and personal.
We could see where Chuck and Ed's inspiration comes from.
Yeah, that was really nice. Nice being there, being able to go around that yard, seeing all of those trains there, and just get on them and be on them is just a fantastic thing, right?
Absolutely.
So that was great. Then we flew over to Durango, Colorado. One of my favorite spots, of course.
Beautiful.
I'll always remember it.
Cold,
beautiful.
Yeah,
I could do without the cold, but what a great little railroad town. We got to stay at the Strader Hotel.
Pretty neat place.
You know, wasn't it though?
If any of y'all have the chance, it's cool. It's a really kind of an iconic place there in downtown Durango. You still feel like you're at an old saloon or something, in an old style Victorian hotel.
Wasn't it nice?
A lot of the furniture's antique.
Yeah.
You went to bed early one night. Yeah, but Jimmy and me went down, you know, just to grab a quick little glass of wine or something. He almost got in a bar fight.
That sounds like Jimmy.
He's heckling the guy trying to play guitar who was really good. Yeah. And then he sends one of his friends over, and Jimmy asks if who he's going to bring for help. I don't know who was backing up Jimmy, because it wasn't me.
You're out of there,
I
right?
was backing up right out of the saloon.
Oh, no. But what a great place. Yeah. Right down the street from the museum, as well as the depot there, the yard, to be able to take our trips. The roundhouse was right there. Everything just so close, nice there in Durango. And then, of course, we got to take our fantastic rides throughout there, and just beautiful from Durango up almost to Silverton, right? We almost made it up there.
Because of the winter, right?
Yeah. So, but that was just beautiful. We got to see some layouts while we were there, so we certainly thank all of those that we were able to visit their homes.
And from going back in time, it felt like, on all these steam engines and through that natural uncut wilderness, then to the high-tech facilities, the soundtracks.
Yeah,
that was
beautiful.
very interesting, eye-opening.
Yeah, nice visit there with the little dog. What was the dog's name?
Sadie.
Oh, yeah, Sadie.
Can't forget Sadie.
She was cute. So that was a nice visit there. And then we flew up to Denver. We got to visit around there, but then we drove up to Wyoming.
Yeah, weather was bad that day. We thought we were going to get snowed out or stuck.
Yeah. Some of the greatest things we saw, right? The big boy.
Wow. And just the whole place, it is the mecca for railroaders.
Yeah, it is.
Driving into that yard, we were like, wow. Because we had just appreciated all this narrow gauge equipment, but then that stuff is so massive out there. The tenders are bigger than the locomotives.
Isn't that something?
Up there in Durango.
I wish we could have put on these mugs what we captured with our eyes, but of course we realized the reason we couldn't do that. We look forward to it being rolled out later this year, the big boy, once it's done. And
we have confidence it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll figure out a way to be there and share it with our viewers.
That was nice.
But it was a great experience.
That was a great trip. I got to see more layouts after that. In-house here, we've had some great guests.
Yeah, we had Hal.
So
unfortunately, Hal ended not quite as good as we hoped.
I know. His poor fall, you know. He hurt his hand. So
we're not doing how to climb the ladder with Hal.
No, not
that didn't end well. But he's tough.
Yeah, he's tough.
He's already
going to bounce
bouncing
back. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He's looking forward to next season.
Yeah.
Of course, we had a visit by Boyd.
Yeah. That was he helped us out a lot around here. Let's face
sure
it.
did.
you
Yeah.
know?
Hey, those lines that you painted, Boyd, in the parking lot are holding up very well. We just wanted to let you know. So
We didn't even need to clear coat him or anything.
He really is a great painter.
He's a very good painter. Thank you. He knows how to stripe, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we had him. We had Adam Pomerantz
That's right.
here for a visit, him and his father, and that was a nice little treat. So really some nice guests that we were able to have even here in studio this
Yeah.
year.
And so looking ahead to next season.
We have a lot planned for next season, which is going to be season 4, right? So we're going to have that one coming up. In-house, the things that I can tell you about, we bought a nice paint booth. So we're going to see some painting techniques in-house via Hal.
Good.
So Hal's going to be fully healed by then. So we're going to go through and we're going to, we had the segments with Boyd, and we've got a lot of feedback from our customers. They absolutely love the painting, the how-tos, and we want to keep bringing them to you. So, but with Hal, it's a little different. His main focus is steam.
Right.
So where Boyd's is passenger. They both use scale coat.
Yep.
But there's 2 different techniques. The end result is just fantastic. So you're really going to enjoy how we go through. We strip a brass locomotive, use lacquer thinner, we use some sandblasting, different techniques that Hal uses. But again, you're going to see that spraying process, the decal application, the taping off of the model, really intricate when you get into those steam
So
models.
does this mean back in season 1 when you promised to
Don't go there.
strip down that Frisco, that
Don't go there.
beautifully painted work of
See,
art?
See, I knew we would go
I forget
there.
which episode, but
Yeah.
it's going to get revitalized.
I forgot what episode
resurrected.
too.
Yeah, I haven't forgot the logo.
But we're going to go ahead and try to tackle that
etched
one also.
indelibly in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be
but
fun.
road trip. I always
Right.
like that word. Pat likes
Especially
that word
when it
road
involves
trip.
California.
Yeah, he thinks we're going to do in and out like 12
Yeah.
times. Not going to happen.
Pat might be catching an Uber to In-N-Out for some midnight snacks.
Yeah, right? So, what are we going to do while we're out there?
Well, we're going to find out all about that Painters Union of brass locomotives. So if you don't have your shirt yet, buy it now because you will want to be in the comfort of that shirt watching.
Because, well, we're going to see some weathering techniques.
Yes.
And I personally, I love the finished product. We know that it can be done so many different ways, that weathering, but we've really got the experts. We've got Jerry Spolma, we've got Juan Zuloga, and Boyd is going to
so
be
we're
there.
bringing the band back together.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to show some nice techniques. And Boyd's actually going to, after that, we're going to talk about some interiors too on passenger trains. So we look forward to that part.
So
of it.
really covering it all. And so we want to mention, we've already seen it, that people, our viewers, are going back into the other seasons
Right.
Via the live stream platform, which keeps everything nice and organized, and at least rewatching certain segments. And that's what we want, especially with some of these how-to sections.
Right.
You can just keep rewatching and rewatching it until they kind of master some of those techniques.
Yeah, people wondered why we use that platform, and this is the main reason why instead of YouTube, keep it all nice and organized there. It costs us, quite a bit monthly to be able to put that on, but we feel it's really to the benefit of the hobby.
Yeah, I know. I would have sure loved this when I was starting out years ago.
Yeah.
But that's one of the advantages of the internet and a show like this.
Yeah.
And thanks to the guys for being willing to share their knowledge. I mean, they're still the masters, and it's going to be hard to entirely replicate that, but it's certainly
Absolutely.
inspirational to be able to watch them and want to try it ourselves.
Sure. And 2 more things we just wanted to mention that's on plan for next season. We've got something that we can't mention. It's a little special treat. A couple
Got a
of
few
special
things.
guests,
Yeah.
right? That really is going to really up the show, we feel.
And hopefully learn things that are very practical, but also be able to delve back into the history and learn some things that many probably don't know about the early days of brass.
Right. Okay,
So that'll be fun.
Looking forward to that.
have to
And then,
stay
Dan, we had talked about one of the things that we wanted to do, like for BrassTrains.com, because we get so much feedback and interest in our online brass guide, is that we're going to do some videos on those. How to use the brass guide. We're going to do specific videos on that, and then something that the numbers will blow your mind as far as how many alerts that customers get when they're looking for that special model.
Right.
So we're going to do a little video on how to maximize that, getting text messages on your phone, getting alerts via email. What's the quickest way to do that for the best result to get that model you're looking for?
And unlocking the potential of the brass guide.
Yes.
How to use and access the data, the pricing charts, how to see it's really updated daily We've talked about the plethora of photos, how to fulfill your collection. There's some great tools for the collector there, whether they're looking for information or ways to kind of, for insurance purposes, keep their collection, or just trying to see what models were made and their favorite roads.
Yeah.
So next season they'll be able to see, and we have some updates planned for the
Yeah.
site as well too. So we'll roll all that out next year.
Sounds like you got a lot of work, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I got to take lots of naps. Get ready for it.
Well, hey,
And
listen.
Last
go ahead.
thing, yeah, just last thing we wanted to announce. We appreciate the Monday Morning Express. We want to thank everybody who was involved this season, who supported us, not just the viewers, but guys like
Yeah.
Jimmy who came with us,
Yeah.
guys like Boyd, the importers, ones like Chuck.
Right.
Everybody involved with the show. We don't mean to forget your name, but they made it possible. And also, now that our focus is really on this, and this is kind of our impetus as far as promoting the hobby goes, we've appreciated our time with the Brass Expo, but we're happy to announce we have a buyer for that, and that's Mr. Forrest Nace. So if you don't know Forrest Nace, you may actually remember him earlier this season.
Some of the videos, right?
Yeah, because he's rolling out, he's kind of retired from his secular job, and he's rolling out just a fabulous video production.
Top notch.
And it tells you a lot about him, and I'm sure he's going to run the expo that way. He's good friends with Howard Zane, has his approval, he has our approval. For us, it was never really about the sale as far as a financial thing, but just to be able to hand that torch off, and then we'll carry this and he can carry that.
Yeah.
We'll support him. We ask you to support him. And a lot of good things for the industry here of brass model trains.
Yeah. So, well, it's
Well,
been a
I
great
think,
season.
the train's got to go back into the station for a little bit, the Monday Morning Express train, that is.
Yeah.
But before we leave, we got some nice little recaps for you of some of the things that happened this year. And then Roland, tell them about the video you shot that we're going to end it with.
Yeah, so be sure to watch the recap. But after the recap here in a few minutes, be sure to watch the sights and sounds. We're going to go back out to Durango for one of my favorite videos. You're just going to get goosebumps if you're anything like me when you hear the sound of that loco in the canyon. So it's a great trip, and certainly you're going to appreciate this video. So stay tuned for that. But that's going to make it. That's it for this season. All right.
So thanks for joining us. See you next season on Monday Morning Express. All aboard the Monday Morning Express. Welcome to 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 a much colder than normal Monday Morning Express. Welcome to Monday Morning Express. Welcome to Monday Morning Express. Welcome to Monday Morning Express, where it's obviously Monday evening.
But this is the first edition of Monday Morning Express that's at night.
Nobody knows that. That's why we have these big lights. Yeah, right. So that part's going to the outtakes.
There's a lot of my stuff that goes in that. There should be like a special cutting room edition.
Yeah.
Most of your stuff goes to
Yeah. It's got 4 viewers.
Today we're going to talk about shorts. We're both wearing pants. No need to be alarmed, so that's good.
that you actually have the noise if I can get it to work.
We'll have to see if Pat can get us a little beam in there. Roland, beam me up.
Yeah, beam me up, please. Better yet, beam me some brass.
Yeah. I'm the king of the world!
Charlie, can you explain some of the machines to us, how we do it?
Yeah. Probably can't hear that.
I think he has enough pull in it.
Awesome.
You know, I asked them if they needed any help in painting. This is not what I was thinking of. This is crazy.
Seriously, Boyd, how long is this gonna take?
I'm painting here! Come on, man! Go around!
Well, we've actually sold the manufacturing business, and we'll be making that announcement on our website and here shortly. And things will continue as they have, just as we did it. I don't plan on doing any importing in the near future, although we might get back into it.
During our break, we lost a great importer.
Mr. Gary Coase of Fine Art Models. What a great guy. His models, they're displayed in museums. Many prolific collectors throughout the world have a lot of his pieces.
Why do I have a White Castle mug? I mean, it's not even in and out. My little beer cooler. This is actually, it's not MME, it's EMD. Now, we still don't have our season 3 mug, so I've had to go to my red solo mug. But guess what this mug? This is an official season 3.
I can't see what it says.
Season 3, Cheyenne or Bust. I got my
yeah, I see it.
Cheyenne Big Boy.
I see it.
Commemorative mug, and it's got a special Jimmy Booth photo on the back.
Yeah.
Now you see I have no mug.
By the magic of television, you're gonna see it on your screen right now.
Whoa.
There it is. Through the magic of your computer, why don't we get Scott from Microscale on the phone? Hey Scott, we're gonna Skype in with you. You there, buddy?
Hey, I'm here. How you guys doing?
All righty. Good.
We're joined by Christy McCarthy, the executive director of the museum. Thanks so much for joining us.
With model railroad royalty, Harry Brunk, longtime friend and fellow modeler.
So now we're here with Ashley, one of the tour guides here at the Cheyenne Depot Museum.
Living the dream.
This is Jimmy Booth from Brass Trains, and you do not want to go in there.